Welcome to Tech with Koushik. This is set 2 of our AB-100 Agentic AI Business Solutions Architect practice question series. Choose your answer before the timer ends. Then review the correct answer, detailed explanation, and exam tip. Keep track of your score and see how exam ready you are. Each practice set is completely standalone, so you can start here without watching any of the other sets first. Playlist link is in the description. Let us begin set 2. Question number 38. Find the decisive clue before choosing. This one tests your understanding of agent flows. Pay attention to qualifiers such as least, most, and minimum. Fourth, coffee receives customer purchase order files by email. The solution must extract order data, write and update records, and send confirmations. The company wants low-code intelligent automation with minimal custom development. Which architecture should the solution architect recommend? Compare the options by fit, not by familiarity. Next, option A, a multi-agent implementation built with semantic kernel. Next, option B, a Copilot Studio agent that invokes Power Automate workflows. Next, option C, a standalone Azure Logic Apps workflow only. Next, option D, a multi-agent implementation built with Microsoft Foundry agent service. After elimination, select option B, a Copilot Studio agent that invokes Power Automate workflows. The requirement to solution match is Copilot Studio supplies the intelligent conversational/orchestration layer, while Power Automate provides low-code integration for data extraction, record operations, and notifications. Check why each remaining option is not the best fit. A, semantic kernel adds code-first complexity that is not justified by the low-code/minimal effort requirement. C, Logic Apps can automate integration but does not by itself satisfy the requested low-code agentic interaction pattern. D, a Foundry multi-agent system is unnecessarily complex for this deterministic business workflow. Use an agent for reasoning or interaction and Power Automate for deterministic business process integration when low-code is a decisive requirement. Question number 39. Tests careful elimination. Identify the decisive constraint before considering the options. Alpine Ski House is designing a multi-agent business solution. One Copilot Studio agent needs a controlled, auditable conversational path with explicit branching and business rules. A separate backend integration must move data between systems independently of the agent's reasoning. Select the component that best satisfies each design requirement. Complete every statement by matching the requirement to the option. Statement 1. Identify the clue in. Define the controlled conversational path by using the blank. The candidates are 1. Agent flows, conversation topics, or Microsoft Power Automate Cloud Flow. Statement 2. Identify the clue in. Run the independent backend data movement process by using the blank. The candidates are 2. Conversation topics, Microsoft Power Automate Cloud Flow, or Microsoft Power Pages. Complete statement 1 with conversation topics. Conversation topics provide explicit nodes, conditions, branching, and other deterministic conversational behavior. Complete statement 2 with Microsoft Power Automate Cloud Flow. A Power Automate Cloud Flow is suited to independent backend automation and data movement across systems. Remember this decision rule. Use topics for deterministic conversation logic and Power Automate Cloud Flows for independent backend process automation. Move to question number 40. This is an easy question, so check each requirement. Identify the requirement in this scenario. Wide World Importers uses Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365 sales. Sellers need AI-generated Outlook thread summaries, suggested replies, and meeting preparation that includes relevant CRM information. The proposed solution is Microsoft 365 Copilot for sales. Does the proposed solution meet the goal? Review the options. Choice A, no. Choice B, yes. The required response is option B, yes. Here is the reasoning that confirms the answer. Microsoft 365 Copilot for Sales is designed to bring sales and CRM context into Microsoft 365 experiences such as Outlook and meeting preparation. Here is how to rule out the alternatives. A. Rejecting the solution would ignore the purpose-built sales integration and CRM-grounded productivity capabilities. Use this elimination rule in the exam. Use Copilot for Sales when the decisive requirement is seller productivity in Microsoft 365 enriched with CRM context. Approach question number 41 by checking every constraint. Look for the wording that eliminates the distractors. Coho Winery uses Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365 sales. Sellers require email thread summaries, suggested Outlook responses, and meeting briefs that include CRM information. The proposed solution is a classic Dataverse workflow. Does the proposed solution meet the goal? Watch for distractors that are valid services, but wrong for this scenario. Consider option A. Yes. Consider option B. No. The option that satisfies the complete requirement is option B. No. This option satisfies the complete requirement because a classic Dataverse workflow can automate record operations, but does not provide the integrated generative Outlook and CRM-grounded seller experience described. The incorrect choices are plausible, but unsuitable because A. The stated capabilities require a Copilot experience, not only deterministic Dataverse workflow automation. Exam strategy. Do not substitute classic workflow automation for a generative, context-aware Microsoft 365 Copilot experience. Question number 42 contains an important exam distinction. This scenario tests whether you recognize the controlling constraint. Lucerne Publishing uses Microsoft 365 with Dynamics 365 sales. Sales staff need Outlook email summarization and reply assistance, plus meeting preparation grounded in CRM records. The proposed solution is a generic Microsoft 365 Copilot agent template. Does the proposed solution meet the goal? The exam distinction is hidden in these choices. Now examine choice A. Yes. Now examine choice B. No. The correct choice is option B. No. A generic agent template is not the purpose-built Copilot for sales experience that supplies the required seller workflows and CRM-enriched Outlook/meeting capabilities. The remaining options fail one or more requirements because A. Although a custom agent can be extended, the scenario asks for the native combination of sales-specific Outlook and CRM context features. Watch for this clue in similar questions. Prefer a purpose-built Microsoft 365 Copilot role solution when its native capabilities exactly match the business workflow. Work through question number 43. Step by step. Background. Blue Yonder Airlines is piloting its first Copilot Studio operations agent. Leadership will fund later AI initiatives only if the pilot demonstrates sustained month-over-month adoption. Current environment. The agent is already deployed to a controlled user group, and leadership needs recurring adoption evidence rather than model training metrics. Business requirements. Stakeholders require usage and adoption reporting that can show whether employees continue to engage with the agent. Technical requirements. The architect should reuse telemetry and analytics already available for the Copilot Studio agent wherever possible. Which tool should be recommended to support the funding decision? Use the scenario constraints to assess these choices. Choice A, Azure Operator Insights. Choice B, the analytics experience in Microsoft Copilot Studio. Choice C, evaluations in Microsoft Foundry. Choice D, the Azure Cost Optimization Workbook. The best answer is option B, the analytics experience in Microsoft Copilot Studio. The key clue points here because Copilot Studio Analytics exposes agent usage and performance information that can be used to track adoption trends for the deployed agent. Now eliminate the distractors. A. Azure Operator Insights is unrelated to Copilot Studio adoption reporting. C. Foundry evaluations assess model/agent quality rather than serving as the primary adoption dashboard for this Copilot Studio agent. D. Cost optimization focuses on Azure cost analysis, not user adoption of the agent. A useful exam pattern is this. Separate adoption evidence from quality evaluation and infrastructure cost analysis. Choose the metric source that measures the stated business outcome. Start by identifying the requirement in question number 44. First, locate the key operational constraint. Margie's Travel is building a Copilot Studio agent. A reusable prompt in the agent must invoke a company-specific model deployed through Microsoft Foundry, while keeping model access governed through a configured connection. What should the architect include in the design? Check each option against the exact requirement. Option A is create a Microsoft Foundry model connection for the Copilot Studio prompt. Option B is switch the entire agent to classic orchestration. Option C is add the model as a legacy Copilot Studio skill. Option D is replace the Copilot Studio agent with a custom engine agent. The best answer is option A. Create a Microsoft Foundry model connection for the Copilot Studio prompt. The decisive reason is a configured Microsoft Foundry model connection is the architecture path that lets a Copilot Studio prompt use an approved Foundry model without replacing the agent. B. Classic orchestration does not establish secure connectivity to the custom model. C. Legacy skill semantics are not the current mechanism for selecting a Foundry model in a Copilot Studio prompt. D. A custom engine agent would change the solution architecture rather than connect the existing Copilot Studio agent to the model. When Copilot Studio must use a Foundry-hosted model, distinguish model connectivity in prompts from replacing the entire agent architecture. For question number 45, separate the requirement from the distractors. The focus now shifts to Copilot Studio ELM. Look for the wording that eliminates the distractors. Consolidated Messenger has a Power Apps application, Dataverse tables, Power Automate flows, and a Copilot Studio agent. The components must be versioned with their dependencies and move together through development, test, and production. Which packaging mechanism should the architect use? Eliminate every option that violates even one requirement. Next, option A, Azure DevOps repositories alone. Next, option B, Microsoft Power Platform solutions. Next, option C, GitHub Actions alone. After elimination, select option B, Microsoft Power Platform solutions. The requirement to solution match is Power Platform solutions are the native packaging boundary for application components and dependencies, enabling controlled movement across environments and supporting ALM. Check why each remaining option is not the best fit. A. Azure DevOps can orchestrate ALM, but does not replace the solution package that contains the Power Platform components. C. GitHub Actions can automate deployment, but does not itself define the component/dependency package. Remember this decision rule. Use solutions as the Power Platform ALM package. Use pipelines or CI/CD tools to automate movement of that package. Let's analyze question number 46. Review the scenario and identify what must be achieved. City Power and Light is introducing Microsoft 365 Copilot agents across regulated departments. Security teams need controls for sensitive data protection, retention and investigation of agent interactions, and detection/mitigation of threats involving AI applications. Which two Microsoft security and compliance components should the architect include? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Choose the best two answers and verify both. Now compare the choices one requirement at a time. Option A is role-based access control in Microsoft Foundry. Option B is Microsoft Defender. Option C is Azure AI Content Safety. Option D is Microsoft Purview. The answers that fully satisfy the requirement are option B, Microsoft Defender, and option D, Microsoft Purview. Here is the reasoning that confirms the answer. Microsoft Purview provides data protection, retention, compliance, and investigation capabilities for Copilot/AI interactions, while Microsoft Defender provides threat and security monitoring for AI applications and agents. Here is how to rule out the alternatives. A. Foundry RBAC controls access to Foundry resources, but does not provide the cross-Microsoft 365 compliance and threat coverage requested. C. Content safety focuses on harmful content filtering rather than enterprise retention, DLP, investigation, and broad agent threat protection. Use this elimination rule in the exam. Use Purview for information protection/compliance and Defender for threat protection. Do not confuse either with model-level content filtering. Next is question number 47. We are moving to custom model validation. Scenario. Contoso Legal has fine-tuned a generative model to draft internal compliance reports from enterprise data. Before production approval, reviewers must determine whether generated reports are useful and appropriate for the organization's specialized reporting tasks. Which validation metric best addresses the requirement? Option A, average inference infrastructure utilization. Option B, alignment of generated output to domain-specific tasks. Option C, number of active users. Option D, model training duration. The required response is option B, alignment of generated output to domain-specific tasks. This option satisfies the complete requirement because task/domain alignment directly evaluates whether generated output is meaningful and fit for the intended business reporting use case. The incorrect choices are plausible, but unsuitable because A. Resource utilization measures system efficiency, not semantic business suitability. C. Active users measure adoption, not output appropriateness. D. Training duration measures process cost/time, not whether outputs meet domain needs. Exam strategy. Validation metrics should measure the intended business behavior of the model. Operational or adoption metrics answer different questions. Approach question number 48. By checking every constraint, pay attention to qualifiers such as least, most, and minimum. Northwind Financial deploys Microsoft Foundry agents in Azure regions in North America and Europe. The agents use regional Azure OpenAI resources and enterprise grounding data. Compliance teams must govern where sensitive data is classified, handled, and moved. Which governance service should the architect recommend as the best fit for governing the sensitive data and its compliance posture across the solution? Compare the options by fit, not by familiarity. Consider option A, Azure Monitor. Consider option B, Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Consider option C, Microsoft Purview. Consider option D, Azure Policy. The option that satisfies the complete requirement is option C, Microsoft Purview. Microsoft Purview is the data governance and compliance service among the choices, supporting classification, protection, compliance controls, and investigation of sensitive enterprise data. The remaining options fail one or more requirements because A. Azure Monitor provides operational telemetry rather than enterprise data governance controls. B. Defender for Cloud focuses on cloud security posture and workload protection, not primary data governance classification and movement oversight. D. Azure Policy can enforce resource configuration such as allowed regions, but does not by itself govern the full sensitive data lifecycle described. Watch for this clue in similar questions. Distinguish resource location enforcement from data governance. Azure Policy governs resource configuration. Purview governs sensitive data compliance and protection. Let's break down question number 49. Next, we enter the topic of Dynamics CX AI ELM. Start by separating the facts from the requirement. AdventureWorks extends Copilot functionality used by Dynamics 365 customer service. The organization needs repeatable promotion from development to test and production without rebuilding the AI components in each environment. Which two actions should be included in the ALM design? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Select exactly two answers. Do not choose extra options. Review the options and eliminate any clear mismatch. Choice A. Rebuild each agent manually in every environment. Choice B. Package the Copilot-related components in a Power Platform solution. Choice C. Use an unmanaged solution as the production deployment artifact. Choice D. Use Microsoft Power Platform pipelines to promote the solution. Choice E. Store production conversation transcripts as the deployment source. The required combination is option B. Package the Copilot-related components in a Power Platform solution, and option D. Use Microsoft Power Platform pipelines to promote the solution. The key clue points here because Power Platform solutions package the deployable components and their dependencies, while Power Platform pipelines automate controlled promotion across environments. Now eliminate the distractors. A. Manual rebuilding breaks repeatability and traceability. C. Unmanaged production deployment is not the preferred controlled ALM pattern. E. Transcripts are operational data, not the deployable source artifact for the Copilot components. A useful exam pattern is this. Power Platform ALM combines solution packaging with a controlled pipeline. Do not rebuild environment-specific copies manually. Question number 50. Find the decisive clue before choosing. Identify the decisive constraint before considering the options. A Copilot Studio agent supports a service-to-sales process spanning Dynamics 365 customer service and Dynamics 365 sales. Testing must prove that the agent coordinates data and tasks across both applications and produces useful outcomes from user input. Choose the test scenario and metric that best validate the end-to-end architecture. Use the context of each statement to select its drop-down value. The first blank appears in the end-to-end scenario should the blank. Compare 1. Test isolated tasks separately in each app. Run task-based scenarios that traverse both apps. Or check only visual consistency across both apps against the requirement. The second blank appears in the primary success metric should the blank. Compare 2. Measure only the first response latency in each app. track average click count, or track successful completion of cross-app tasks against the requirement. For statement 1, the best fit is run task-based scenarios that traverse both apps. Cross-app task scenarios exercise the integrations, handoffs, and shared business process that isolated tests miss. For statement 2, the best fit is track successful completion of cross-app tasks. Successful cross-app task completion measures whether the agent actually achieves the intended end-to-end outcome. For cross-application AI solutions, test the complete business journey and measure task success, not only UI or latency. Focus on the key wording in question number 51. This question moves us into AI data ALM. Focus on the requirement that drives the design choice. Fabricam Hospitality frequently fine-tunes a Microsoft Foundry model using newly approved customer feedback examples. Training data must be versioned so prior datasets can be reproduced, and only an approved dataset version should be supplied to each retraining run. Which two actions should the architect include? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. The selection count is 2. Use it as a constraint. Focus on which option satisfies the complete requirement. Option A. Enable versioning for an Azure Blob Storage location that holds the approved training datasets. Option B. Create an AI content filter for the training files. Option C. Store the training set only in Azure files without dataset versioning. Option D. Upload or import the approved training dataset into Microsoft Foundry for the fine-tuning job. Option E. Use a resource lock as the training data version mechanism. After checking every constraint, choose Option A. Enable versioning for an Azure Blob Storage location that holds the approved training datasets, and Option D. Upload or import the approved training dataset into Microsoft Foundry for the fine-tuning job. The decisive reason is blob versioning provides reproducible history for training datasets, and the approved dataset can then be uploaded or imported into Foundry for the corresponding fine-tuning job. B. Content filtering addresses safety policy, not dataset version history or reproducible retraining. C. Azure Files alone does not satisfy the explicit version control requirement. E. A resource lock protects resource changes, but is not a training dataset versioning system. Remember this decision rule. Treat fine-tuning data as a versioned ALM asset and bind each training run to an explicitly approved dataset version. Work through question number 52. Step by step. Read the scenario with the target outcome in mind. Lucerne Research uses Azure OpenAI models with grounding data stored in Azure Blob Storage. The storage source is registered in Microsoft Purview and enabled for data policy enforcement. The company also maintains proprietary fine-tuning datasets in Microsoft Foundry. Business users may access only grounding data authorized for their roles, while only the AI engineering team may start or manage fine-tuning. Select the access control mechanism for each requirement. Solve the blanks one at a time. Do not carry assumptions between them. Now solve statement 1. Restrict access to the governed Azure Blob grounding data by using the blank. Choose the stronger fit from 1. Azure AI Content Safety, Azure Monitor Alerts, Azure Policy Compliance Rules, or Microsoft Purview Access Policies. Now solve statement 2. Restrict Foundry model fine-tuning to the AI engineering team by using the blank. Choose the stronger fit from 2. Azure Policy Compliance Rules, Azure Resource Manager Resource Locks, Microsoft Intra-Conditional Access, or Role-Based Access Control in Microsoft Foundry. The clue in the first statement points to Microsoft Purview Access Policies. The scenario explicitly establishes the Purview registration and data policy enforcement prerequisites required to use Purview policies for the Azure Blob source. The clue in the second statement points to Role-Based Access Control in Microsoft Foundry. Foundry RBAC is the direct authorization boundary for granting model/project operations to approved engineering identities. Use this elimination rule in the exam. Access to grounding data and permission to tune models are separate authorization boundaries. Apply the control at the platform that owns each operation. Question number 53 is a good test of exam judgment. This hard item requires systematic elimination. The key exam clue is contained in this scenario. A Copilot Studio support agent has been in production for 1 quarter. Product owners want to quantify 2 issues: how often generative questions remain unanswered and how many conversations are abandoned before successful completion. drag the Copilot Studio insight to the requirement it best answers. First, identify what each source item actually does. Source item 1, generated answer rate and quality. Source item 2, conversation outcomes insight. Source item 3, survey results. Source item 4, reactions. Now identify the requirement represented by each destination. Target A, number of unanswered questions. Target B, number of abandoned sessions. The requirement number of unanswered questions is best met by generated answer rate and quality. The requirement number of abandoned sessions is best met by conversation outcomes insight. The requirement to solution match is generated answer quality insights expose unanswered generative questions, while conversation outcomes classify session results such as abandoned conversations. Survey results and reactions capture feedback rather than these two counts. Exam strategy. Use generated answer metrics for answer quality and conversation outcome metrics for session-level completion or abandonment. Let's analyze question number 54. Review the scenario and identify what must be achieved. A Copilot Studio agent assists Dynamics 365 customer service representatives during live cases. The test strategy must measure effectiveness during sessions, verify that responses are accurate and helpful, and provide actionable signals for iterative improvement. Which testing approach should the architect recommend? Check each option against the exact requirement. Option A is measure only service uptime and page load time. Option B is track resolution, deflection, and response accuracy in dashboards and use repeatable test scripts. Option C is review which human representatives historically closed cases fastest. Option D is run only high-volume load tests. The correct choice is option B, track resolution, deflection, and response accuracy in dashboards and use repeatable test scripts. Here is the reasoning that confirms the answer. Resolution, deflection, and response accuracy measures address agent effectiveness and quality, while repeatable scripts provide consistent evaluation and actionable comparison over time. Check why each remaining option is not the best fit. A. Availability and page performance do not measure answer quality or case effectiveness. C. Human agent historical speed does not validate the AI agent. D. Load testing covers scalability, but not the required accuracy, helpfulness, and outcome quality. Watch for this clue in similar questions. A complete agent test strategy measures task outcomes and response quality. Performance/load metrics alone are insufficient. For question number 55, separate the requirement from the distractors. Identify the decisive constraint before considering the options. Contoso has several Copilot Studio agents published to different channels. Operations teams need detailed runtime telemetry and performance diagnostics that can be queried and correlated outside the built-in conversational analytics. Which service should be included in the monitoring architecture? Watch for distractors that are valid services but wrong for this scenario. Consider option A, Azure Advisor. Consider option B, Application Insights. Consider option C, Azure DevOps. Consider option D, Dynamics 365 Customer Voice. The best answer is option B, Application Insights. This option satisfies the complete requirement because Application Insights is the telemetry service used to capture and analyze detailed runtime events and diagnostics for Copilot Studio agents. Here is how to rule out the alternatives. A. Azure Advisor provides Azure optimization recommendations rather than conversational agent telemetry. C. Azure DevOps supports development and delivery workflows, not runtime agent telemetry collection. D. Customer Voice gathers survey feedback and is not a comprehensive telemetry platform. A useful exam pattern is this. Use Copilot Studio Analytics for built-in business/conversation metrics and application insights when detailed operational telemetry is required. Now tackle question number 56. The focus now shifts to Copilot knowledge sources. Review the scenario. Wide World Importers uses Microsoft Copilot Studio and maintains a SharePoint online policy library containing thousands of PDF documents. The company also maintains a SharePoint list that maps policy identifiers to departments and other structured policy metadata. The agent must answer questions from the policy documents and reason over the structured department relationships. Select the SharePoint knowledge source design for each requirement. Treat each blank as a separate decision and choose the best fit. For the first statement, Evaluate. To ground answers in the policy document content, the blank. Eliminate between 1. Build a custom model in Microsoft Foundry. Add SharePoint as a Copilot Studio knowledge source. Copy all PDFs into Dataverse. Or use AI Builder to reprocess all documents. For the second statement, evaluate. To ground reasoning in the structured policy to department data, the blank. Eliminate between 2. Add the SharePoint list as a Copilot Studio knowledge source. Apply purview sensitivity labels. Create a duplicate Dataverse department table, or upgrade to SharePoint Premium. After elimination, Statement 1 uses Add SharePoint as a Copilot Studio knowledge source. SharePoint is the native knowledge source choice for grounding answers in the policy documents without copying the content into another platform. After elimination, Statement 2 uses Add the SharePoint list as a Copilot Studio knowledge source. SharePoint lists can be connected as real-time knowledge sources, so the agent can reason over supported structured list columns while honoring SharePoint access controls. Use SharePoint site or document content for document grounding and SharePoint lists for structured tabular grounding. Do not assume arbitrary document library metadata is available as a separate reasoning surface. Question number 57. Fabricum Services is validating a business process that spans Dynamics 365 Sales and Dynamics 365 Finance. The test plan must verify both system-to-system behavior and whether the completed process matches the way business users actually work. Drag the most appropriate testing type to each requirement. Review the source capabilities. The first source candidate is integration testing. The second source candidate is user acceptance testing. The third source candidate is exploratory testing. The fourth source candidate is performance testing. The fifth source candidate is drift testing. Use these destination clues to complete the mapping. Destination A. Verify correct data exchange between the Dynamics 365 applications. Destination B. Verify alignment with approved user workflows and business processes. The first correct pair is integration testing to verify correct data exchange between the Dynamics 365 applications. The second correct pair is user acceptance testing to verify alignment with approved user workflows and business processes. Integration testing validates exchanges and dependencies across applications. User acceptance testing confirms that the end-to-end solution supports defined business workflows from the user's perspective. Remember this decision rule. For cross-dynamic solutions, separate technical integration validation from business process acceptance. Question number 58 contains an important exam distinction. Take extra care here. One qualifier may decide the answer. The key exam clue is contained in this scenario. A Canadian organization hosts Dataverse data in a Canadian Power Platform environment. A Copilot Studio agent in that environment uses a connector to an Azure OpenAI resource hosted in the United States. Compliance requires the architecture to be reviewed for permitted cross-region processing before release. What should the solution architect verify before deployment? Focus on which option satisfies the complete requirement. Now examine choice A. Move the entire Microsoft 365 tenant to the United States. Now examine choice B. Enable and validate the permitted cross-region data movement for the environment and dependent connector path. Now examine choice C. Only confirm that the Azure OpenAI resource stores data in the United States. Now examine choice D. Review only Microsoft Purview data loss prevention settings. After elimination, select option B. Enable and validate the permitted cross-region data movement for the environment and dependent connector path. The key clue points here because the decisive issue is the actual cross-region processing path. Power Platform generative AI features can require data movement consent when processing occurs outside the environment geography, so the environment and connector dependencies must permit that movement. The incorrect choices are plausible, but unsuitable because A. Moving the tenant is unnecessary and does not replace residency analysis. C. The location of one Azure resource does not by itself validate the complete data path or Power Platform consent requirements. D. DLP policies govern connector/data use controls, but do not alone authorize or validate cross-region processing. Use this elimination rule in the exam. Validate residency against the complete data path, including environment geography, connected services, and cross-region processing consent. Let's break down question number 59. First, locate the key operational constraint. A support team is reviewing 2 Copilot Studio prompts before production. One prompt contains broad instructions with no explicit task definition. Another retrieves product facts from an approved knowledge source and must avoid unsupported general answers. Complete each recommendation by selecting the best prompt engineering practice. Now solve statement 1. A broad instruction such as assist the customer however you can should be the blank. Choose the stronger fit from 1. Kept intentionally vague, rewritten with clear task-specific instructions, or expanded with conversational filler words. Now solve statement 2. A product retrieval prompt grounded in an approved knowledge base should the blank. Choose the stronger fit from 2. Remove the knowledge source and answer from general knowledge. Add several unrelated open-ended questions, or limit the response to the approved reference sources and requested scope. Complete statement 1 with rewritten with clear task-specific instructions. Specific instructions reduce ambiguity and improve consistency. Complete statement 2 with limit the response to the approved reference sources and requested scope. Restricting the response to approved grounding sources reduces unsupported or irrelevant product claims. Exam strategy. Good prompts define the task clearly and constrain grounded answers to the intended sources and scope. Question number 60. Tests careful elimination. This question moves us into prompt validation. Look for the wording that eliminates the distractors. A team is validating prompts used by several Copilot Studio agents. The evaluation must test robustness to normal user language variation and measure whether outputs remain useful and correct. Select the best validation technique and metric. Use the context of each statement to select its drop-down value. The first blank appears in. Prompt robustness should be tested by the blank. Compare 1. Excluding domain terminology, using only one-word prompts, or testing prompts with varied phrasing against the requirement. The second blank appears in. Prompt quality should primarily be measured by the blank. Compare 2. Response relevance and accuracy, number of words generated, or response generation time only against the requirement. After elimination, Statement 1 uses testing prompts with varied phrasing. Varied phrasing tests whether prompts remain effective across realistic user formulations. After elimination, Statement 2 uses response relevance and accuracy. Relevance and accuracy directly measure whether responses satisfy the intended business requirement. Watch for this clue in similar questions. Prompt validation should test realistic variation and measure answer quality, not merely verbosity or latency. For question number 61, separate the requirement from the distractors. Pay attention to qualifiers such as least, most, and minimum. A Copilot Studio agent is packaged in a Power Platform solution in a development environment. The organization must promote the agent to production with minimal manual work while keeping production components controlled. Which deployment approach should the architect recommend? Eliminate every option that violates even one requirement. Next, option A. Recreate the agent manually in production. Next, option B. Export the solution as unmanaged and import it into production. Next, option C. Export the solution as managed and import it into production. Next, option D. Share the development agent directly with production users. The required response is option C. Export the solution as managed and import it into production. The decisive reason is a managed solution is the standard production deployment artifact for Power Platform ALM. It packages the agent and dependencies and supports controlled promotion with less administrative effort. The remaining options fail one or more requirements because A. Manual recreation breaks repeatability and increases drift. B. Unmanaged solutions are intended for development/customization rather than controlled production deployment. D. Sharing a development agent does not deploy the solution into the production environment. A useful exam pattern is this. Use unmanaged solutions for development and managed solutions for controlled downstream environments, such as production. Focus on the key wording in question number 62. This medium question rewards structured elimination. Focus on the requirement that drives the design choice. A Copilot Studio agent grounds answers in Dataverse. Users report that the agent frequently returns irrelevant or inaccurate information, and the team suspects the underlying business records contain stale, duplicate, and inconsistent values. What should the architect recommend first? The exam distinction is hidden in these choices. Option A, add an adaptive card to the agent. Option B, verify and cleanse the Dataverse data. Option C, retrain the Copilot Studio agent. Option D, add more example utterances as training data. The correct choice is option B, verify and cleanse the Dataverse data. The requirement to solution match is grounding quality depends on the accuracy, relevance, cleanliness, and timeliness of the source data. Cleaning the Dataverse records addresses the root cause before changing the agent. Now eliminate the distractors. A. Adaptive cards change presentation, not grounding quality. C. Copilot Studio grounding problems caused by source data quality are not solved by retraining the agent. D. Example utterances do not correct inaccurate enterprise data. When grounded answers are wrong, validate the source data before tuning prompts or changing the agent. Question number 63. Scenario. A support organization needs one Copilot Studio agent to use operational information from ServiceNow, Dynamics 365 Finance, Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management, and Excel files stored in SharePoint. The data must remain accessible through supported enterprise integrations and stay current. What should the architect recommend? The choices are: Choice A, create only custom prompts for every system. Choice B, use Microsoft Power Platform connectors to integrate the required systems. Choice C, use a model router to decide which data source is queried. Choice D, enable Azure AI Search incremental indexing as the sole integration mechanism. The option that satisfies the complete requirement is option B. Use Microsoft Power Platform connectors to integrate the required systems. Here is the reasoning that confirms the answer. Power Platform connectors provide supported low-code integration to multiple enterprise applications and data sources, allowing the agent to access current information without duplicating every system into a new store. A. Prompts do not create data connectivity. C. Model routing chooses models, not enterprise data integrations. D. Azure AI Search can support retrieval scenarios, but does not replace the required multi-system connector architecture. Remember this decision rule. Separate model selection from data connectivity. Use connectors when the requirement is to reach enterprise systems and APIs. Question number 64. Find the decisive clue before choosing. Next, we enter the topic of AI ROI analysis. Look for the wording that eliminates the distractors. A manufacturer is considering an AI agent for supplier invoice processing. Executives need an investment decision that accounts for total cost of ownership, expected automation savings, and whether extending existing AI capabilities is more economical than building new ones. Which analysis should be included in the recommendation? Watch for distractors that are valid services but wrong for this scenario. Next, option A, a return on AI investment analysis. Next, option B, a break-even calculation only. Next, option C, training a custom model before any cost analysis. Next, option D, selecting a pre-built agent solely because deployment is faster. The option that satisfies the complete requirement is option A, a return on AI investment analysis. This option satisfies the complete requirement because ROI evaluates measurable benefits against total lifecycle costs and supports build, buy, or extend decisions rather than looking only at initial expense. Check why each remaining option is not the best fit. B. Break-even alone is too narrow for TCO and architecture trade-offs. C. A custom model is an implementation choice, not the required financial analysis. D. Deployment speed can influence value but is not a substitute for full ROI/TCO evaluation. Use this elimination rule in the exam. AB-100 ROI decisions should include lifecycle cost, measurable benefits, risk, adoption, and build versus extend trade-offs. Approach question number 65 by checking every constraint. Identify the decisive constraint before considering the options. A Power Platform solution contains Dataverse tables, a Canvas app, and a Power BI semantic model that queries Dataverse. A new generative AI workload must ground answers in a governed subset of corporate business data and make that data directly available to other AI systems. What should the architect recommend? Eliminate every option that violates even one requirement. Consider option A, share the Power BI workspace with all AI users. Consider option B, export the semantic model as the grounding store. Consider option C, Populate a dataverse table with the approved grounding data. Consider option D. Endorse the Power BI semantic model. The best answer is option C. Populate a Dataverse table with the approved grounding data. Dataverse provides a governed business data store that can be organized as a reusable source for Power Platform and Agentic AI scenarios. Populating an approved table makes the intended grounding subset directly available. Here is how to rule out the alternatives. A. Workspace sharing controls Power BI access, but does not create the requested grounding dataset. B. Exporting a semantic model is not the normal pattern for making business data available as a reusable grounding source. D. Endorsement certifies a semantic model, but does not reorganize the source data for agent grounding. Exam strategy. For reusable business grounding, distinguish governed source data from analytics presentation or endorsement artifacts. Question number 66. Tests careful elimination. We are moving to agent use assessment. Pay attention to qualifiers such as least, most, and minimum. A consumer goods company is selecting agent patterns for 2 workloads. One workload must independently coordinate an order fulfillment process through shipping. The other must perform a bounded analytical task over historical inventory trends to support replenishment decisions. Drag the most appropriate agent type to each requirement. The source list is Source 1, Task Agent. Source 2, Autonomous Agent. Source 3, Prompt and Response Agent. The destinations to satisfy are Requirement A, coordinate order fulfillment and shipping with sustained autonomy. Requirement B, analyze historical data and trends for stock replenishment. For mapping 1, autonomous agent satisfies coordinate order fulfillment and shipping with sustained autonomy. For mapping 2, task agent satisfies analyze historical data and trends for stock replenishment. The key clue points here because an autonomous agent is appropriate for a multi-step business process that proceeds with limited intervention. A task agent is appropriate for a focused analytical responsibility with a defined outcome. Watch for this clue in similar questions. Choose agent type from the required autonomy and scope, not simply from whether AI is involved. Now tackle question number 67. An AI agent analyzes customer feedback from a cloud database and produces monthly sentiment reports used by product and marketing teams. Before ingestion, the organization must ensure the dataset is suitable for decision support. Which data preparation action is most important? Compare the options. Option A, sort records alphabetically by customer surname. Option B, identify and address biased data. Option C, create a Power Automate flow. Option D, create an agent flow in Copilot Studio. After elimination, select option B, identify and address biased data. The decisive reason is bias in the input data can systematically distort sentiment findings and downstream business decisions. Identifying and addressing it is part of preparing clean, appropriate data for the intended use. The incorrect choices are plausible, but unsuitable because A, sort order does not improve representativeness or quality. C, a workflow can move data, but does not by itself correct suitability or bias. D, an agent flow automates work, but does not replace data quality assessment. A useful exam pattern is this. Data readiness includes accuracy, cleanliness, relevance, timeliness, availability, and bias appropriate to the business use. Question number 68. Next, we enter the topic of AI ROI analysis. A company is assessing a Power Platform AI solution that replaces several manual process steps. The finance team wants a Microsoft-recommended method to capture before and after process measures, financial assumptions, and realized business value for return on investment reporting. Which resource should the architect recommend? Compare. Option A, Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure. Option B, Success by Design. Option C, the Business Value Toolkit. Option D, the Power Platform Admin Center alone. The required response is option C, the Business Value Toolkit. The requirement to solution match is the Business Value Toolkit provides a structured framework and value calculator for capturing and communicating the value of Power Platform solutions. It can compare before and after key performance indicators and financial assumptions, such as the average cost of processing a transaction, to quantify realized impact. The remaining options fail one or more requirements because A, Cloud Adoption Framework guides cloud adoption strategy rather than providing the specific Power Platform value capture and value calculation toolkit. B. Success by Design is an implementation guidance framework, not the requested business value measurement toolkit. D. The Power Platform Admin Center provides administration and platform insights, but is not the complete structured value assessment and value calculation method requested. Use the Business Value Toolkit when the requirement is to quantify and communicate Power Platform value through structured KPIs, cost assumptions, and before and after measures. Move to question number 69. Identify the requirement in this scenario. An organization needs two AI experiences. The first requires a code-first agent that can be extended with semantic kernel and connected to multiple business applications and APIs. The second requires a conversational AI assistant that works directly with Dataverse data inside a Power Apps Canvas app. Microsoft 365 Copilot in Canvas apps is available in the organization's region. The preview feature is enabled, and users have the required Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses. Select the platform or capability that best matches each agent requirement. Treat each blank as a separate decision and choose the best fit. Statement 1. Identify the clue in the semantic kernel extensible agent should be built with the blank. The candidates are 1. Microsoft Foundry, Azure Logic Apps, Microsoft Copilot Studio, or Microsoft 365 Copilot in Canvas apps. Statement 2. Identify the clue in the Dataverse connected Canvas app assistant should use the blank. The candidates are 2. Microsoft Foundry, Azure Logic Apps, Microsoft Copilot Studio, or Microsoft 365 Copilot in Canvas apps. The clue in the first statement points to Microsoft Foundry. Microsoft Foundry is the code-first agent platform among the choices and supports extensible custom agent architectures. The clue in the second statement points to Microsoft 365 Copilot in Canvas apps. Microsoft 365 Copilot in Canvas apps can answer natural language questions about Dataverse data used by the app and is the current replacement for the discontinued new app Copilot control pattern. Remember this decision rule. For new Canvas app designs, do not select the legacy Copilot control pattern after its February 2nd, 2026 discontinuation for new apps. Use the current Microsoft 365 Copilot in Canvas apps capability when its preview prerequisites are satisfied. Question number 70 is a good test of exam judgment. This scenario tests whether you recognize the controlling constraint. An enterprise is estimating the financial impact of running an Azure-based sentiment analysis workload across several business units. Before approving the AI initiative, the architecture team needs an estimate of the solution's expected Azure cloud cost to support ROI analysis. Which tool should be used from the available choices? Focus on which option satisfies the complete requirement. Option A, Azure Reservations. Option B, Microsoft Fabric SKU Estimator. Option C, Azure Pricing Calculator. Option D, Cost Management plus Billing. The correct choice is option C, Azure Pricing Calculator. Here is the reasoning that confirms the answer. The Azure Pricing Calculator converts anticipated Azure service usage and configuration choices into an estimated cost before deployment. That makes it the appropriate tool for a prospective Azure workload cost estimate used in ROI planning. Now eliminate the distractors. A. Azure Reservations are a purchasing and cost optimization commitment, not the primary tool for building the initial workload estimate. B. The workload is not a Microsoft Fabric capacity sizing scenario. D. Cost Management plus Billing is primarily used to analyze, monitor, and optimize Microsoft Cloud costs after resources and billing scopes exist. It does not replace the pre-deployment Azure Pricing Calculator estimate. Use this elimination rule in the exam. Use the Azure Pricing Calculator for prospective Azure solution cost estimates and cost management for analysis and optimization of actual cloud spending. Question number 71 contains an important exam distinction. This question moves us into Power Platform AI Hub. The key exam clue is contained in this scenario. A customer support team wants AI capabilities that can be reused from Power Automate. The design must provide the Power Platform workspace used to access and manage AI builder models and prompts, and a no-code capability for creating short summaries from long case notes and transcripts. Select the component that best satisfies each requirement. Complete every statement by matching the requirement to the option. For the first statement, evaluate. The Power Platform AI workspace should be the blank. Eliminate between 1. AI Hub, Microsoft Foundry, Microsoft Copilot Studio, or Microsoft Dataverse. For the second statement, evaluate. The summarization capability should use the blank. Eliminate between 2. An AI Builder pre-built model, an AI Builder pre-built prompt, Azure OpenAI, GitHub Copilot, or Microsoft Copilot in Power Automate. For statement 1, the best fit is AI Hub. AI Hub is the Power Platform entry point for discovering and managing AI Builder models and prompts. For statement 2, the best fit is an AI Builder pre-built prompt. AI Builder provides a pre-built summarization prompt that can be used in Power Automate without training a custom model. Exam strategy. Distinguish Power Platform AI Hub from Microsoft Foundry. AI Hub is the low-code Power Apps and Power Automate workspace for AI Builder models and prompts. Focus on the key wording in question number 72. Focus on the requirement that drives the design choice. An organization uses both Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management and Dynamics 365 Finance. Procurement staff need an AI summary that surfaces overdue vendor invoice information, while collection staff need a separate AI summary that reduces time spent reviewing overdue customer invoices and payment history. Select the best Microsoft Copilot capability for each requirement. Solve the blanks one at a time. Do not carry assumptions between them. Statement 1. Identify the clue in. To surface overdue vendor invoice information, use the blank. Choose the stronger fit from 1. Agent management, AI summaries with Copilot, account reconciliation agent, or supplier communication agent. Statement 2. Identify the clue in. To accelerate review of overdue customer invoices and payment history, use the blank. Choose the stronger fit from 2. Analyze demand plans with Copilot, collections coordinator summary, account reconciliation agent, or supplier communication agent. Complete statement 1 with AI summaries with Copilot. The supply chain management vendor summary can include the number of overdue vendor invoices and other vendor status information. Complete statement 2 with collections coordinator summary. The Finance Collections Coordinator Summary is specifically designed to summarize overdue invoices, payment history, balances, and related customer collections data. Watch for this clue in similar questions. Keep the Dynamics workload boundary clear. Vendor AI summaries are a supply chain management capability, while Collections Coordinator Summary is a finance capability. Next is question number 73. The focus now shifts to AI ROI analysis. Background. Contoso Manufacturing is rolling out a low-code Copilot Studio agent and a pre-built Dynamics 365 AI capability as part of an enterprise AI adoption program. Current environment. The company uses several Dynamics 365 apps and Azure subscriptions. The custom agent will be available in Teams and will use enterprise business data. Business requirements. The CFO performs a quarterly comparison between projected and realized value, including adoption and agent consumption estimates. Technical requirements. The CFO plans to use the Microsoft Agent Usage Estimator to understand agent design factors that influence estimated Copilot credit consumption. Which 2 design factors should the CFO evaluate for the custom Copilot Studio agent estimate? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. You need precisely 2 selections. The choices are: Option A, average characters in a chat message. Option B, configured tool/action types and their invocation frequency. Option C, average session duration. Option D, prompt model type and prompt trigger frequency. The correct selections are Option B, configured tool/action types and their invocation frequency, and Option D, prompt model type and prompt trigger frequency. This option satisfies the complete requirement because the current Microsoft Agent Usage Estimator asks for the types and counts of agent tools or actions and how often they are invoked. It also includes prompt model type, number of prompts, and prompt trigger frequency as optional consumption modifiers. These are direct agent design inputs used to estimate Copilot credit consumption. A. Average characters in a chat message is not a configuration input in the current estimator for this custom agent estimate. C. Average session duration is not one of the current custom agent design inputs used by the estimator. A useful exam pattern is this. For Copilot credit forecasting, use the estimator's current configuration drivers such as knowledge, tools/actions, agent flows, and prompt model modifiers rather than generic conversation length statistics. Next is question number 74. Background. Northwind Manufacturing is creating a low-code Copilot Studio agent for employees. The agent will use Dynamics 365 business data and will later coordinate with additional specialized agents. Current environment. The organization wants conversational topic selection based on descriptions and user intent rather than relying mainly on explicit trigger phrases. Business requirements. The agent should dynamically choose the appropriate topic, knowledge, tool, or connected capability from the conversation context. Technical requirements. The architecture must remain in Copilot Studio and support a more flexible conversational experience. Which orchestration mode should the architect configure? Review the options. Choice A, classic orchestration. Choice B, AI-assisted evaluators. Choice C, generative orchestration. Choice D, Azure OpenAI reasoning models only. The option that satisfies the complete requirement is option C, generative orchestration. Generative orchestration uses the conversation context and descriptions to select topics, tools, knowledge, and other capabilities dynamically rather than depending primarily on trigger phrases. Check why each remaining option is not the best fit. A. Classic orchestration relies more heavily on authored triggers and deterministic routing. B. Evaluators are for testing/quality assessment, not runtime topic orchestration. D. Choosing a reasoning model does not itself implement Copilot Studio's orchestration behavior. Use generative orchestration when the agent must choose capabilities from descriptions and conversational intent instead of fixed trigger phrases. Question number 75. Tests careful elimination. We are moving to Copilot Studio ALM. Pay attention to qualifiers such as least, most, and minimum. A Dynamics 365 customer service solution includes a custom connector used by Copilot. The connector must move consistently with the rest of the solution through development, test, and production, and changes should be made only in development. What should the architect include in the ALM design? Compare the options by fit, not by familiarity. Consider option A, share the custom connector independently with each environment. Consider option B, create the connector only in the default solution. Consider option C, add the custom connector to the application solution. Consider option D, store only the connector definition in GitHub and deploy it separately. The required response is option C. Add the custom connector to the application solution. The key clue points here because including the custom connector in the Power Platform solution packages it with dependencies for controlled ALM. Downstream managed deployments can restrict direct editing, while development remains the customization environment. Here is how to rule out the alternatives. A. Sharing does not provide solution-based deployment consistency. B. The default solution is not the proper ALM package for promotion across environments. D. Source control can support ALM, but deploying the connector separately defeats the requirement to package it consistently with the solution. Remember this decision rule. Treat connectors as solution components when they must follow the same ALM lifecycle as the agent and app. Question number 76. Is a good test of exam judgment. This scenario tests whether you recognize the controlling constraint. A Copilot Studio agent automates tasks in a third-party web application. The application's layout and controls change often, causing brittle automation. The organization wants the agent to adapt with minimal redesign. Which capability should the architect recommend? The exam distinction is hidden in these choices. Now examine choice A, conversation topics in Copilot Studio. Now examine choice B, computer use in Copilot Studio. Now examine choice C, a custom model in Azure AI Studio. Now examine choice D, an agent flow only. The best answer is option B, computer use in Copilot Studio. The decisive reason is computer use is designed for AI-driven interaction with websites and applications and can adapt to interface variation better than fixed UI automation patterns. The incorrect choices are plausible, but unsuitable because A. Topics control conversation behavior, not resilient UI interaction. C. A custom model is unnecessary for the screen interaction requirement. D. Agent flows automate processes, but do not provide the requested adaptive user interface interaction. Use this elimination rule in the exam. Use computer use when an agent must interact with changing user interfaces and structured APIs are unavailable. You have completed set 2 of the AB-100 Agentic AI Business Solutions Architect Practice Question Series. How did you score? Share your result in the comments. Work through all the sets to build broader exam readiness and cover more practice questions. Please like this video, subscribe to Tech with Koushik, and enable notifications for more certification exam preparation content. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in another practice set.